Welcome to the academic task 1 describing two graphs together. So this is an example of an IELTS bar and line graph together. So it's not uncommon to get two graphs to describe at the same time in the IELTS test. So it can be intimidating at first. However, when you look more closely, you'll see it is probably no more difficult than having one graph. So let's look at the sample question. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The line graph shows visits to and from the UK from 1979 to 1999, and the bar graph shows the most popular countries visited by UK residents in 1999. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. So here is first the line graph, visits to and from the UK. So the first line talks about visits abroad by UK residents, and then the line 2 would be visits to the UK by overseas residents. So these are the years 1979 to 1999. Next, we have the bar graph, which talks about the most popular countries visited by UK residents 1999. So we have here five countries: Turkey, Greece, USA, Spain, and France. So let's look at our plan. So how do we organize this? So again, we start with an introduction, which is again a paraphrase of the question. And in the overview, give what would be the highlights of the two graphs. And then the first body paragraph, you talk first the line graph. And then for the second body paragraph, you talk about the bar chart. So here is our introduction. When you state what the graph shows, mention both of them. So here's a sample first sentence of the introduction. The line graph illustrates the number of visitors in millions from the UK who went abroad and those that came to the UK between 1979 and 1999, while the bar chart shows which countries were the most popular for UK residents to visit in 1999. So remember to write this in your own words and do not copy from the question. And if you notice, even though these are past years, you will notice that the tense is in the present tense. Why? Because the graph is constant. So when you're talking about the graph, you use present tense, but when you're talking about the variables, use the past tense. Next, you need to mention the key points from the graph. So when you do this, you mention the most interesting things from each. So here is where you write your overview. So write only a one sentence overview. And when you write your overview, make sure that you don't put any figures. So you start with overall, you can say in general. Overall, it can be seen that visits to and from the UK increased and that France was the most popular country to go to. So you highlight what would be the trend for the first line graph, and for the second bar graph, you highlight which is the most popular country to go to, and that is France. Now we go to the body paragraph. So if there are two graphs and a lot of information, you will have to be careful not to describe everything. Otherwise, you might not be able to finish the task. Also, the examiner is looking to see that you can select the important things and not describe every single detail. So the key skill when you have two graphs is being able to pick out the important information or summarize things in a concise way. Otherwise, you will end up writing too much and probably run out of time. So again, let's look back to our first graph, which is the line graph. And let's look at how we should write the body paragraph. So you have your linking word to begin with. The number of visits abroad by UK residents was higher than for those that came to the UK, and this remains so throughout the period. The figure started at a similar amount, around 10 million, but visits abroad increased significantly to over 50 million, whereas the number of overseas residents rose steadily to reach just under 30 million. So you have your linking words to begin with. You also have but and whereas. And here we have our graph vocabulary: higher, remained, started, increased significantly, rose steadily. Now let's go to our second graph, the bar graph, and let's look at how we should write the body paragraph 2. By far, the most popular countries to visit in 1999 were France at approximately 11 million visitors, followed by Spain at 9 million. The USA, Greece, and Turkey were far less popular at around 4, 3, and 2 million visitors respectively. So in the bar graph, we are actually comparing the countries. So we should rank them from highest to lowest. So we have here used the comparative vocabulary most popular, and that is France. And then the second one is Spain. And then you have there your graph vocabulary less popular, were USA, Greece, and Turkey at around 4, 3, and 2 million visitors respectively. So that is how you should write a graph with two line and a bar graph.